beautiful souls. My name is Cora Flora, and today I feel inspired to make a video on the topic of relationship inspiration. Because, I admit I'm single, but I have had a lot of experience, and I have also had a lot of inspiration, a lot of learning, a lot of receiving and percolating and digesting, a lot of wisdom. And I feel like sharing the crystallization of what I've learned so far to just share what can help us the most to be the love that we are, ding, and experience the fullness of what's possible when we really do the work to create great relationships. And of course, this can be any kind of relationship, but I'm speaking specifically about romantic, sexual, partnership type experiences. So yeah, one day when I was at work a few months ago, I just got this huge download and I had this little note here. So I'm going to go through the points and just intuitively flow about what I feel. So the first point I wanted to touch about was I wanted to talk about is radical honesty. So I feel like this is a really important ingredient to any authentic connection, is having the courage to be honest. And perhaps it's radical because even when I look at dating apps and how a lot of us are taught to show up on first dates, fancy, act like, we're putting our best foot forward, try to impress the other person. But the truth is, what's really going to create a genuine connection is authenticity and vulnerability. And not just like the fake hero's journey vulnerability, but like vulnerability in the moment. Like I know for me, like I remember once I was on a first date with somebody, and it was many years ago, and I think it was actually a second date. I don't know, but it was at the beginning of this beautiful relationship that ended up being real love. And I remember I was sitting in the car with them, and suddenly my face was aflame. Like I was just like blushing so hard because I realized that I liked this person, and whatever, I blush sometimes. And so in that moment, instead of trying to fake it and be like, oh, I'm fine, I just decided to just own it. And I was like, God, I'm blushing so much right now. And then we got to discuss in the moment, like why and what was coming up. And it opened up my heart, and it opened up that authenticity portal for real connection. And so I feel like that's an example of it. But also just like, being honest about what we want and who we are, and perhaps even pushing the envelope sometimes, not too much, keep some cards to yourself, like keep yourself a bit of a mystery. But when you feel called to, I feel like it's important to like push the envelope and like be a bit vulnerable and say the thing that's maybe a little bit scary to say, but that might invite more authentic connection. For example, if you're into kink, or if you're into a specific thing that is kind of edgy and different, like perhaps it's an opportunity to open up and just see how the other person reacts, because you never know. Because I feel like we are all snowflakes, and one of my friends says there's a lid to every pot, or maybe many lids to every pot. But I feel like we can only really click into those authentic connections that are really meant for us when we're willing to show up in the full truth, beauty, and glory of who we are. Okay, so point number 2 is go slow. And this one, it's really hard for me because I love really hard, and I'm very passionate, and I get really excited when I experience connections that I'm like into, because part of my soul is I just love to love, and I've always wanted love. It's one of my greatest motivators in this experience. Also, I have Venus in Pisces, so I'm very romantic, but slowness allows us to really get to know the person. Because even today I saw a meme on Instagram that was like, I think it was Jay Shetty, and had said that in time we figure out what the real connections are, or what we mean to people. And this wisdom is something that I definitely now choose to heed the call of, because I have rushed into so many connections, and sometimes, whatever, it was just fun, and I was young, and I just wanted to just play and date and, get my knees dirty or whatever, my heart, my whole being dirty, but whatever, we're here for the muck, and it's what makes us into a lotus. And that being said, I'm now learning like there is so much value in just letting things take time, and letting the universe and experience and the flow reveal who are the real ones, who are the ones that are consistently showing up and show like real patterns of care. and are also showing their own evolution and how they are flowing through life, which is really valuable because, you know, if we are to enter like a partnership or even a friendship or whatever, like that, those patterns of healing are going to be beneficial for us. So watching how someone is or is not healing is very beneficial, which brings me to my next point, which is therapy. Are you not in therapy yet? You should be getting into therapy right now. And honestly, there's no excuse. Even for me, like I'm in free therapy right now, which I did not expect. I was just kind of putting into the universe, like I could really use some help, you know, because the truth is, just like our bodies need doctors, I feel our hearts and souls need doctors, and they're there and they're so beneficial. And yeah, it can be hard to find like the right match, but they're out there. There's amazing healers, therapists, counselors, whatever you need out there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. Whatever blocks you have to that, just know that it's just a block and there's possibilities. Like, so for me, I ran into someone who was like, oh, there's this amazing therapist locally, and you know, thanks to a grant connected to this organization, you can get free therapy if you sign up with her. And I was like, what? And so I went into it thinking, this is probably going to be like low quality, like whatever, I'll just give it a chance. She ends up being like this godly woman who is so deep and so mystical, and synchronistically had heard about my music and was just, anyways, I'm going to therapy today after I make this video. But it's so helpful. Like I find like, it's like doing the laundry of my soul. And then after I have like this like clean, you know, parcel of laundry, and I'm like, so yeah, I feel so much better, and it helps me so much to process things and just make sense of my experience and receive someone's skilled guidance, especially when it comes to healing trauma, dealing with relationship issues, making changes and feeling strong about what I feel. Super, 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 super helpful. And, you know, with my previous therapist, I used to always tell her afterwards, I was like, wow, like I feel like a millionaire after every session, because she was just so helpful and like has so much spiritual mojo and guidance and support that it helped me so much. And I feel like there's so many amazing therapists out there, healers, coaches, even whoever it is that you feel drawn to, just know that it's really important. And I know for me, like whenever, if ever I get into a relationship, we'll see, might just be a cat lady forever. We'll see. But if that happens for me, I'll definitely be wanting to get into relationship therapy, because it's one thing to do our own work on our own. And even for me right now, like I recognize that like I'm pretty stabilized in this department, whereas I know when I get interested in someone and sex gets into the picture, whoo, like it just becomes so intense. And even though I've over the years developed a lot of skills around like communication and learning how to deal with my emotions and learning how to have compassion and respect and care for the other person, even if they're male and I have like biases or anger, you know, about that, which I'm working on. Ultimately, I want a really beautiful, healing, mutually empowering, super beneficial relationship, because I really do believe in love and the power of coming together for a common goal and like really working towards that together, which I heard is actually one of the definitions for commitment. I heard there's actually two definitions. Wow, I'm sharing so much stuff I recently learned. So there's two definitions, apparently. One of them is to be limited. I forget what it is exactly, I'm paraphrasing, but one of them is to be limited, but the other one is to be working together towards a common goal. And actually, I believe this is from a recent video from Matthew Hussey and Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness. So if you're interested, feel free to go check out that, because I'm paraphrasing stuff and they're probably going to say it more perfectly than I am. So anyways, yeah, it just makes me think about the power of like really setting intentions for the journey, the relationship, sailing through life and love and everything. I feel like there's so much power in setting intentions, and really, if you want to commit, who knows, whatever you're feeling called to do. But I feel like when someone or two people do feel guided to commit, I feel like it's a really, wise space to set it intentionally and really bring in ritual, bring in ceremony, bring in a lot of support to make it the best it can be. Okay, next point. Check-ins. I don't know what I meant by this. I will bring in some wisdom that I received from Tatiana James and Stefan James, an amazing power couple who their relationship videos really inspired me because they are super intentional, like goal-getter, kind of like, you know, super rich, successful people. And they're also super in love and have this beautiful relationship and family. And one of the things that they do is they treat their relationship kind of like it was a business, or it is a business, because, you know, it's not just the kind of thing where you just like go in and you just like figure it out. Maybe you do to a degree, but a certain degree of structure can actually really support the overall growth, you know, the foundation of the full potential of what is being created. And one of the things they do is a weekly check-in where they actually have a journal too. I know they started a relationship journal, and so every week, I think every Friday, they would just do a check-in and like and bring the journal and keep track of everything. And they would just be like, okay, so how are you feeling like in this relationship? Is it working for you? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, like, do you feel, and actually, okay, here's more wisdom. So what they would do is they would track the Tony Robbins human needs. I forget what they are, but they're different things like variety. Dang it, okay, go check out the resources that I'm sharing because, yeah. But anyways, I guess the truth is that anyone could decide what they value in a relationship and what needs they would like to be met, and how to quantify those needs, you know, because I think that ultimately, even though these people have these inspirational ways of being, we get to do our own things and what we want to do and what really works for us, and receive, you know, the golden threads of truth that resonate and release what doesn't, and then be our own creators and our own leaders in love and life. And so really deciding like, okay, well, what needs do I have? How would I like for these to be met? And then mutually make sure that they're being met. So like if someone is at a 7 out of a 10, it's like, well, how can we bring it up to a 10? And this was wisdom from, like I said, Tatiana and Stefan. And I loved that because I was like, wow, like in that situation, like if they never let it get down below a 7, like you're always going to be happy and always working on something together. And of course, I think that that's why really being mindful of who we choose in partnership is really important. And I'm still figuring out how to know that. Again, back to a video I recently watched with Matthew Hussey and Lewis House. They were saying like choosing a good partner should be someone who you feel at home with, you feel like you can be your truest self with. I like that. I would also add, I think it's important to be around someone or anyone that believes in you and brings out the best in you and can love through and help heal the worst in you. Because that's something I learned is like people can love you, but do they really have the skills to love you and really help you be the best that you can be? And that's something that not everyone has, and especially if someone hasn't done a lot of work on themselves or hasn't been to therapy or doesn't value the ways that you heal. Because, you know, I think we all have our own ways. And for me, psychedelics, plant medicine is a big part of it, especially because if you want to be authentic, you can't not be authentic on those. And I really value those spaces. And I know for me, like that'll be a big part of any future potential connection. Even my close friendships right now, like they're deepening, and they have deepened over the years in authenticity and healing and beauty and inspiration through ceremonies together. Like when I look at my closest connections right now, like the ones that have sustained over time and space, lifetimes perhaps even, have been the people that I've journeyed with, because yeah, there's just so much depth there, and I'm really grateful for it. So the next point I have is laughter. I think that's a big piece of any great connection, is being able to laugh. And I know for me, like one of my best friends, Jared Woods, we've done a lot of traveling together, and I think anyone who's been on a road trip with someone, which by the way is a great way to get to know someone. I mean, either if you live with them or you go on a road trip with them, and road trip is a nice like stepping stone, you can really get to know someone. You can really get to know how they are in the light moments, how they are in the challenges, how they flow, and how they, I just love to going on a journey with someone and like being able to like talk and like explore and have adventures, new experiences, and just create fun memories together and beautiful presents. But yeah, back to Jared and our experiences. The truth is that like when you go deep with someone, sometimes shit gets real and it gets hard. And we've had a few moments of like some fiery fights, even though I'm not that fiery, but I can be. And, I think fire, water, all these elements of us are really valuable. But I realized that one of the best ways to diffuse the anger, especially when it's just like frustration or like stuff coming up that just feels overwhelming and we're not getting anywhere with the conversation, sometimes it's really good just to laugh and just like, do some kind of joke. Like I remember Jared and I, we were traveling and we got to the end of the trip where it was like the last leg and we were both just like kind of frustrated, kind of annoyed. Shit was starting to get like bubbled up. And then he said something and I was like, wow. And then he made fun of me and he was like, wow. And then we started to get really into it and just like, I don't know, it just somehow just like diffused the anger. And then we were even at Shoppers Drug Mart and he's like, I dare you to go up to that security guard and just go, wow. Anyways, so this is maybe wow was a tip for you, but yeah, being able to laugh when it's challenging is really helpful because then at least it diffuses some of the energy and then you can more properly sort through the stuff later or whenever you need to. But yeah, being able to laugh is so important because it releases energy and it brings us back to that joy and appreciating the moment and being happy together, which is really the ultimate goal. Next point is generosity. Literally, I'm just freestyling this video. It's just random points. I don't even know what I meant by them in that moment. It was months ago. But yeah, generosity. Oh yeah, okay. So this brings me back to Stefan and Tatiana, where they had another amazing relationship tip of really aiming to go that extra mile, like to be the one that gives the most. Like instead of just being like tit for tat, like, oh, well, you did this for me, well then I'm going to give you this. Like that very transactional, kind of like limited, kind of, scarce kind of way of being too. It's like, oh, well, they did this, well then, okay, fine, I'll give you some of this. But like, it's, it's so limited and it's so like just playing a game against each other instead of really playing for each other to win. And yeah, so this generosity is like just really being, going the extra mile and just aiming to be that one that's super generous and giving so much and delivering so much. And this translates to life and business too. And I remember they said that they do the same in their work where they always aim to over deliver and like give the most and really show up and like just blow people away with like how much love and support and wisdom and whatever it is they're giving they can give. And I love that because then it's like we're tuning into like that infinite source, and that is a space where I feel like everything can thrive so much more, including love. And yeah, I feel like when we're both in that space of like, yeah, I just want to give to you, I feel like that's just beautiful, and not just giving, like whatever it is you want to give in different love languages. There's another tip, which I think is pretty common now. But also just like giving our authenticity and like giving our full presence and like giving our honesty and our vulnerability and whatever the qualities that we feel shared to care, and also being open to receive, giving our ability to fully, let someone be good enough and let ourselves be good enough, whatever that means. Acceptance and appreciation, respect. Okay. Next point, she's getting so freestyly. Contexts, challenges. I don't know what that meant. Sorry, past Cora. We missed that one. We're going to have to make some better notes next time. And the last one is agreements. So agreements, I mean, it's important in business. It's important in life. But it's especially important in relationships. And this is something that I feel like I'm learning a lot through learning more about the kink world. One of my favorite doms, Miss LX, she teaches a lot about creating really good structures for safety so that then the play can be really deep and rich and healing and awesome and interesting, and where people feel more safe to go deeper because they know what the parameters are. And I feel like that's similar with relationships. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a huge freaking marriage agreement unless you want that. But I think it's really good to create, even just light agreements around like, okay, like, what am I here for? What do I desire? What do I want to offer? What do I want to receive? How can we make this the best? What are agreements as well, because I think that it's really important to get things on the same page. So for example, if you want to have an exclusive connection, to cultivate that in like a really high powered, potent way, make sure that's like spoken and potentially agreed upon if that's what you both want. Or if you're interested in like more of a committed yet open connection, like make sure it's very clear. And I think that really authentic communication is really the way to get to that place of mutual truth. And what other agreements? I mean, I think it'd be really great to describe how you would like to deal with conflicts. Maybe that's what context and challenges meant. But how you fight, that's another Jay Shetty tip, is like one of his number one relationship tips is it's more than just like being really good at loving each other, but like getting really good at fighting, because the truth is that conflicts are just part of it. Just like, there's dark and light in life, there's dark and light in relationships. And those moments when there's conflict or challenge, those are opportunities for evolution. And I feel like a big piece of that is really remembering that you're on the same team, that you really do care for each other, and that your motives, your intents are really pure. And if you deep down feel like, oh, this person really does care about me and they really do want the best for me, and what they're saying really is coming from their heart and stuff, I feel like that's when the conflicts can be really beneficial. But whereas when someone's trying to manipulate or hurt or like take out their shit on someone else, that's not okay. And that would be part of my agreement, is like, deal with your shit, come to me when you're ready. And that's my commitment to myself too. I'm pretty good at tracking it, but the truth is that I'm not perfect. And I've been learning about myself when I am triggered and stuff, and then I add wine to it. It is not a good combination for communication in healthy relationships, because it ends up bringing out my authenticity and my courage to communicate, but also my shadows come out to play. And yeah, like I've literally just even recently, like I had a few like challenging conversations with people online, and one of them I was like, I could feel it. I was kind of drunk and really triggered, and I remember I was just like communicating with them, but then I got triggered by something they said, and my own stuff was just like a stormy cloud. And then I was just like, I could feel a protective part of me just being like, we're gonna block him. We gotta block him right now. I'm too vulnerable. We're too vulnerable. I could just feel it. And I was like, sorry, but one of my protective parts is probably gonna block you right now. Like, at least I have the self-awareness. And thankfully he like forgive me after. I mean, whatever, we reestablished at least a communication portal. But I've had a few moments like that in relationships, especially because for me, female male connections, and you had sex, you had love, potential of love, like fuck, it's scary. It's so scary. And especially for like, someone who's survived trauma, it's like so triggering. It's like a minefield. And yeah, I'm learning to diffuse my triggers as much as possible and learn from it. But the fact is, it's really hard. And I know I'm worth it, and I know it's worth healing through and fighting for. And I'm doing my best to like get clear and drink less and heal more so that I can be a great lover and partner someday. But yeah, the truth is that life is intense, and especially the last few years with what's been going on in the world. I know for me, like I've been drinking more, but thankfully, this is just a little random other update. I've been really wanting to do a psychedelic journey for months. Like the last one I did was like, I think in June, like in the summer of last year. It's now March. And I just haven't been, I've had the medicine, but I haven't done it because I haven't felt safe, felt like it wasn't the right time. But I kept feeling like, I'm going to do a journey to kind of shift my relationship with wine, with alcohol, because it's been daily, almost daily, lately daily. And I wanted to bring it down to like a glass or two a day, maybe even less, and get to the feeling in the place where I don't need it. And so I'm going into a totally different topic, but this might just be helpful for anyone. Plus I just want to share the update because I'm pretty excited. But yeah, so on the weekend I got to do a journey with some friends. It was unexpected. It was out at a dance event, and I did a small, what I thought was a small dose. And next thing you know, I was super high. My friend was super high, and we got to talk and heal, and a lot of good things happened, and a lot of good people helped us, and it was awesome. And I got to come home and just be by myself with my cat. and see the visuals, and it was so refreshing. And I have the feeling that there's people out there like me who are quite shamanic and spiritually seeking and have a lot to heal and are reaching for wine for that like release or like that, you know, that clarity and a bit of spiritual connection and courage to be authentic when we feel kind of blocked sometimes. And for me, it's also about transmutation, releasing energy, but like, holy, like being even mildly, comparative to other journeys, it was not that intense, but it was intense enough that I was, you know, for hours, I was just like seeing my reality, my home, but then seeing the overlay of like spiritual visuals of like in rainbow patterns and different meaningful like movements of energy. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And it was so refreshing. You know, I feel like, yeah, so revived and so inspired, and in a space where I feel like I don't like what I was seeking from wine. I've received so much more, like such a higher vibration of what I was seeking, and I feel so nourished spiritually that it's like I feel less of a desire to drink, and I feel like I got so much like of my soul and so much like affirmation of that spiritual connection that I'm like just feeling so much better and so much clearer. And as well, like the emotional nourishment of like that spiritual connection and that love has helped me a lot to heal some stuff and feel that connection. I feel too like often addictions are because we're seeking connection and we're wanting to deal with trauma and overwhelm and whatever it is. And I feel like psychedelics really are a path for healing, and I'm still on the beginning of exploring it, but I'd love to share more about my journey with that in case you're interested. But anyways, I guess that brings me to one last bonus point, which is connection with spirit. I feel like the truth is that if we are in a relationship, first of all with ourselves, we're also in a relationship with spirit. And when we're in a relationship with another person, we're also in a relationship, you know, in a triad with this greater oneness that we are. And I feel like it's so valuable to have a way to connect with spirit together and cultivate that connection, because the truth is, even if you go to therapy, even if you talk things out, even if you do your best to do all the human stuff to make it good on a physical level, the truth is that it's really spirit that's going to give the miraculous healing that's needed when things get really challenging. And I think that at the core, that's why people have marriage as a tradition. Like, that's just my perspective, is like, it's bringing in and inviting that spiritual guidance and support, as well as community support. Because the truth is that there are times when it's hard and we need that. And so I feel like really cultivating what it is, what that means to us, and then perhaps creating our own traditions, ceremony, rituals that enhance that connection can be really helpful. All right, so thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to getting back into YouTube again. I'm feeling called. But we'll see. I'm just always going to go with the flow of inspiration. But yeah, if you'd like to learn more about me, I am an inspirational musician, a transformational coach, and an Enthean experience guide. If you want to learn more about what I do, you can go to coraflora.com, find my music, find my work. And yeah, wishing you beautiful love, beautiful sex, and the fulfillment of what your heart came here to do, because I feel like there are many of us who are here to cultivate amazing relationships and teach about them. Because I know for me, like I seek love and I am love and I want to be more of it. And I know that life is so much richer in love because I've had moments of it and I want more, but we'll see. I mean, right now the journey is about cultivating that within and learning and preparing and hopefully sharing some good stuff on YouTube for anyone out there who wants to learn. And feel free to check out the other people that I referenced. I will leave information in the link below to make it easy for you. But yeah, thanks for being in my YouTube community. I hope this helped you. Wishing you heaven on earth.